Detroit Pistons' first Summer League game is today, and what should you be expecting from the 5th overall pick, Ausar Thompson, in their first Summer League game? We're going to talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Johnson with 1 second to go.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Later on in the podcast, we'll talk about how good will Marcus Sasser be and how good should we expect him to be in the Summer League. And then even further into the podcast, we'll talk about some interesting matchups that you're going to see, or one particular interesting matchup you're going to see in this Orlando Magic game, the first game of the Pistons Summer League. Last night, Ausar Thompson got hurt, Scoot Henderson got hurt. So there's a few. I don't know if the Pistons actually play Scoot Henderson, but I know they were going to play Amen. So there's an interesting matchup that we're going to see, I believe, on Sunday that doesn't look like it's going to happen anymore. But there is an interesting one in this Orlando game, so we'll talk about that a little later. But to start it off, obviously, I think all the lights, all the eyes will be on Ausar Thompson and the Pistons, not only in their first Summer League game, but throughout the Summer League. Yes, I know Jaden Ivey's playing. I know Jalen Duren's playing. I know Isaiah Livers is playing. I know James Wiseman is playing. But realistically, 3 of those guys probably shouldn't be playing more than one game, especially Duren and Ivey. And Livers and let me just say Livers. Livers is an NBA player, and Wiseman should be an NBA player. He should be proving he's an NBA player out there. I feel like we should have, there's not much, at least for me, there's not much excitement with those guys because there's not much they should be good. Basically, they're NBA players. They've been in the league for a while. They should be good out there. If they didn't look good, it'd be an issue. So, the lights in my eyes are not on those guys. It's on their first overall pick. It's on their 5th overall pick in this draft, Ausar Thompson. And there's a few things that obviously everyone will feel differently about what you want to see specifically from Ausar. I was in a Twitter space a few days ago talking about what everyone would want to see from Ausar Thompson, and I guess my takeaway is that you're going to see a lot of different stuff from Ausar Thompson. You're going to see him on ball. You're going to see him off ball. You're going to see him, hopefully, at the point of attack defensively. You're going to see him on the weak side defensively. Hopefully, you see him start to, maybe they test him out guarding up a little bit, like to the 3s and 4s. You start to see him try to guard down to 2s and 1s. Hopefully, you see all kinds of stuff with Ausar Thompson during the Summer League. But for me, what I'm most interested in seeing from him is some of his on-ball play. And look, if you guys remember, if you guys have been listening to the podcast for at least a few weeks now, before the draft, I've been an Ausar Thompson guy. And one of my biggest selling points for Ausar was that he is a great off-ball player. He is very high, has a high feel, high IQ, secondary playmaking, nice passer, and can connect the offense, really good defender. I think he could be a really impactful defender on and off ball. So you guys remember all those arguments I made for Ausar. But if you also listen to those podcasts, you will remember I said that, but if you don't believe in Ausar Thompson's on-ball creation ceiling, if you don't believe that's something he can do in the future, you should not take him at 5. Because if you don't think he has that in his future, if you don't think he'll have that in his bag, he's not worthy of the 5th overall pick. Whoever you take at that 5th overall pick selection, I said for weeks, you have to believe in their own self-creation upside. You shouldn't be just taking a guy at the 5th overall pick that you just expect to be a role player no matter what his career. Now, if they were to end up as an impactful role player, that's fine. But you want to take a guy at the 5th overall pick that at least has that creation upside that you can believe in and hope he can get to. That's why I was really high on Ausar. You guys remember. I believe in his on-ball creation. I think he can be eventually a pretty good on-ball player, a primary guy, but at the very least, I think he should be a secondary playmaker, a secondary handler, a guy who takes up usage and pick and rolls, gets downhill, can create at the rim for himself and for others, kick out. But one of the other most interesting things with him on ball, and it's something I think he's actually already good at. Those other things he needs to improve at, he shows flashes at. I'd like to see how he's going to look in the first Summer League game. I think it's going to be really interesting. But one thing I thought he actually already was good at, at OTE was self-creation on jump shots. He knows how to string together some moves and create a lot of separation on jump shots, especially towards the end of the OTE season and in the playoffs. He was creating a lot of space on his three-point looks. A lot of his three-point looks weren't just catch and shoot threes. He was taking step backs, crossovers, side steps. He was creating a lot of space and doing a lot of crafty moves to get him open jump shots. So I'm interested to see, is that something that he'll be able to do in the Summer League? I know a lot of people want to see him play off ball, show he can play off of ball handlers because he's going to be playing with Cade, Ivy, etc., etc. I'm not too concerned about his off ball. I think he's going to be good off ball. You're going to see it, by the way. You're going to see all this stuff. I hope you see a little bit of each thing. But what I'm most interested in seeing is his on-ball stuff. I want to see if that's translated, the stuff where it comes to his creation on his jump shots. Can he hit some shots? Can he create that type of space against, I don't know if you would call, actually you probably would, Summer League the next level, next comp up from where he was at. Can he do it against Summer League competition? And can he get downhill? Can he create for guys? Another thing with Ausar Thompson is that through his 2 years at OTE, first year he was a great finisher. Second year he was an inconsistent finisher around the rim. Now some people I've talked to said that he was dealing with an injury throughout he was dealing with injury at some points throughout the second year at OTE. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I'd like to see if he can get downhill and finish around the rim with the ball in his hands. I'd like to see if he can create space on his jump shots. That's what I'm really going to be looking forward to. That's the thing that I think is going to be most interesting, is what's going to make him not just a role player in the future, but a borderline star. Like his ability to create with the ball in his hands himself. Again, like I said, you're going to see a lot of the stuff. You're going to see a bit of everything. If they just use him only one way, that would be a disappointment. That would be a mega disappointment. I don't expect him to do that. I'm interested to see how Jarrett Jack uses him. This is Jarrett Jack's first time. I believe this is his first time head coaching in Summer League. So if they were to use him in just only one type of way, that would not be great. That would not be a great way to have an impression of Jarrett Jack, the head coach. So I hope Jarrett Jack uses him a bunch of different ways. We get to see him because he is a jack of all trades. So hopefully they use him all kinds of different ways. But on-ball creation is what I'm going to be watching for most from Ausar Thompson. What are you guys going to be watching for most with Ausar Thompson? Not just in the first Summer League game, but throughout Summer League. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, how good is Marcus Sasser, and how good should we expect him or need him to show us he is during Summer League? We're going to talk about why that actually is pretty important, I feel like, when we come back. But first, I've got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetterHelp. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at BetterHelp.com and get on your way to being your best self. Sometimes in life we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. Everybody in life goes through times where you don't have all the answers and you need some help to get through it, and that's completely fine. Whether you're dealing with decisions around careers, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate through life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suitable to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you get matched up with a therapist and you don't feel like you guys are hitting it off, you guys don't feel like it's the right connection, it's the right one for you, well, you can switch just like that at BetterHelp for a different therapist for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So the Pistons don't have just one first-round pick from this year's draft playing in Summer League. They have two. One of them is Marcus Sasser. And I can already see that Marcus Sasser is becoming a fan favorite. He hasn't even played yet, but I can already see him becoming a fan favorite for Pistons fans. What's interesting about Marcus Sasser is that I feel like he might be on the same level of Ausar Thompson when it comes to how much they need to show and what we need to see from them, like how important this is. And I'm gonna tell you why. Ausar Thompson, being the 5th overall pick, I think he's going to get minutes no matter what. Like, you're not going to get someone at the 5th overall pick for him to address some issues that you have and him just not play. That's not going to happen. Whether he starts or he's a backup 3, Ausar Thompson is going to get his minutes. Doesn't matter what happens. Marcus Sasser was acquired. He's a 6'2" type guard. And there's been talk about whether he can play on ball. Is he an on-ball guard? Is he an off-ball guard? A lot of the people I've talked to, everything I've heard is that he's an off-ball guard on offense and an on-ball defender on defense. And figuratively, he fits in with any of the guys, any of their guards, whether it be Cade. Cade can play on-ball. Jane Ivey can play on-ball. Monty Morris now can play on-ball. Alec Burks can play a little on-ball, but you don't really want him being your point guard. It happened in New York, and I don't think we want Alec Burks being point guard. But figuratively, he can play with Alec Burks, and he can play with Killian Hayes. He can play with all 5 of them. That's what the whole point of getting Marcus Sasser was, that he can play with those guys. However, the interesting thing for me, for Marcus Sasser, is that he's already 22 years old. He's older than Ausar. He's the same age as James Wiseman. He's the same age as Isaiah Stewart. He's older than Jane Ivey. He's older than Killian Hayes. He's older than Cade Cunningham. So you expect him to come in and be ready. He is a long-term college player. He should be ready for the NBA. He should be ready to impact the Pistons instantly. He should be ready to impact instantly. If he isn't, I think that's somewhat of a concern because he is older. And what I've read about him, his whole build is that he should be ready to play instantly. That's why he fell. It seems like that and him being undersized is why he fell in the draft a little bit, because he's an older prospect. He's not a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 18-year-old guy. He's an older guy that maybe doesn't have as high of a ceiling because he's a little older, but he should be ready to contribute instantly. So if he comes out here against the Summer League competition and he's struggling, he can't really play, and he's missing shots, he can't create space against guys, he's not hitting open shots, he can't stay in front of the guys at Summer League. Now I'm asking the question of, okay, maybe he's not ready. And if he isn't ready, he's 22 years old. When is he going to be ready? Like, he's not coming. If he was younger and he wasn't ready instantly and he was struggling against Summer League comp and all that kind of stuff, I would just be like, okay, he's young. He needs to learn some stuff. He needs to get some reps in, et cetera, et cetera. He has time. We need to build him up. He doesn't even have to be an impact player this year. We can just build him up and, it'll be straight. I don't think that's the case with Sasser. I think they expect him to impact the Pistons instantly. And if he doesn't, what does the guard rotation look like now? So are they just going to run with Monty Morris and Alec Burks as the backup 1 and 2? I mean, they definitely 100% could do that, but I don't feel like that's their plan. I think they want Marcus Sasser to be in the rotation. And if he does prove to be good, and if he's like showing up to Summer League, he's playing really well, now do the Pistons feel more comfortable moving off of Alec Burks? Because if they don't, how are you going to then get the guy you drafted at 25 that we all expect you want to play instantly? How are you going to get him minutes if the backup guards are Monty Morris and Alec Burks playing? And then at the 3, you got either Isaiah Livers or Ausar Thompson. And you don't really want either of those guards playing up to the 3, Alec Burks or Monty Morris. If Killian Hayes was in the rotation, you probably feel good with Killian Hayes guarding up to 3s. He's actually pretty good at guarding wings at that size. But I don't think Killian Hayes is 1 in the rotation or 2 will be on the team by the time training camp starts. So basically, for me, this is a big Summer League for Marcus Sasser because it's going to, I think it's going to help the Pistons decide what they want to do over the next month or so. If Marcus Sasser comes out here and balls out, shows how ready he is, dominates the competition, maybe not dominate, but just looks clearly like, yeah, he's ready, he's going to be able to play, now I think the Pistons will feel better about moving off of Alec Burks, and then they'll run Monty Morris and Marcus Sasser as the backup 1 and 2s with either whatever the next 3, 4, and 5 are. Wiseman, Stu, and Livers, or Ausar, Livers, and Wiseman, or Harris, Ausar, whatever it is. Those 2 guard spots, we don't really know exactly what's going to happen. The only thing we know for sure with the guard rotation is that Killian Hayes is out the rotation, and he's probably not going to be on the team by the time the season starts. That's the only thing we do know. We don't know it. Is Alec Burks going to be on the team? Is he going to be taking minutes from Sasser? Is Sasser going to be taking minutes from Burks? Is he going to be playing next to Monty Morris? I think Monty Morris is a for sure thing. I think he's for sure the backup point guard. But I kind of feel like Marcus Sasser is competing for minutes with Alec Burks, and it starts here in Summer League. If he struggles against Summer League comp, Troy Weaver and company probably won't feel comfortable moving off of Alec Burks. They'll want to keep Alec Burks on the team. Sasser probably won't be in the rotation to start the season, and they'll give him time to try to develop and get ready to play before they move off of guys. I think that's what we're watching for with Marcus Sasser here, and which is why I think he and Ausar both are almost on like level playing field with what you're watching for, the importance of what they're watching for. I really do feel like Sasser's performance in Summer League can impact the Pistons' decisions in like potentially trades over the next month or so. But to be honest, I expect him to play really well. He's a guy who was one of the best catch and shooters in the draft. Really showcased some self-creation on his own shots. Not the best playmaker, but absolute dog defensively at the point of attack. I expect him to get up into guys on defense in the Summer League and torture some dudes. I expect him to score some points, to score a lot, and shoot the ball really well in the Summer League. I don't think he's going to struggle. That's not the point of this segment. I don't think he's going to struggle. I think he's going to play well, and I think the Pistons will eventually move off of Alec Burks to get him minutes. But I'm just saying, if he were to struggle, you may be looking at potentially different next month for the Pistons when it comes to decisions on how the roster fills out, how they clear up room on the roster, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my takeaway or my thoughts on Marcus Sasser and his importance of his Summer League this summer. Let me know what you guys think. How important is this Summer League for Marcus Sasser? Could his play, whether it be good or bad, have impact on the Pistons' decisions over the next month? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, there's an interesting matchup in this Orlando Magic game that I think we all should be watching for. We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, you guys got to hear from some of our lovely sponsors. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So like I said, yesterday I was watching Summer League, and the Rockets were playing against the Trailblazers. That was a great game. That was a fun game until like the last minute of the game, and then it just became like, what the hell's going on? But it was a fun game, really, really fun game. Sadly, though, Ausar Thompson got hurt in that game, and so did Scoot Henderson. Now, I'm pulling up the Pistons schedule real quick. I don't believe that they even play the Blazers in the Summer League. But I know for a fact they played the Rockets. And the Twins matchup was something we all were looking forward to watching. Not just Pistons fans, not just Rockets fans. I feel like damn near the entire NBA fan base that was going to be watching during Summer League was looking forward for the Twins to match up against each other. And it doesn't look like they're going to match up against each other. So there's one matchup that we're already going to miss out on in Summer League. And yes, so the Rockets was on July 9th. Yes, so they were going to play them on Sunday, I believe it was. They play the Raptors after the Rockets. And then the Spurs in the final game, Wemby might play in that game potentially because he did not play well in that first game. They might want to play him throughout Summer League to get him as much reps and get him accustomed to playing against this. I think he was struggling a lot with conditioning. But either way, my point is that I don't know if there's many great matchups now. Maybe Cam Whitmore against the Rockets, but I don't know if that's a high-key matchup like it would have been if he went a little higher. I think some of you guys probably really want to see Cam Whitmore versus Ausar. Actually, yeah, that actually is a good matchup. Fair enough. So you still have that matchup on Sunday. But in this first game against the Orlando Magic, there is a very interesting matchup Pistons fans can watch for. And it's going to be Ausar Thompson versus Anthony Black. And the fun thing about this one is that it's going to be fun nonetheless. I like watching young players go against each other. It's going to be fun nonetheless. But the fun thing about these two guys is that I'm not going to say when I say this, I'm not saying they're exactly the same. Nowhere near am I saying that. But a lot of people, whether you're on the Ausar side or if you were a fan of Anthony Black, it felt like you were almost describing the same player sometimes before the draft. I feel like the things you like about Ausar, a lot of people like the same thing about Anthony Black. The things people like about Anthony Black, the same thing people like about Ausar Thompson. There's differences between them for sure. But there were a lot of similarities, I felt like, before the draft. And it's going to be interesting because I feel like they're going to be doing the same type of stuff for each other's teams. Maybe not this first game as much for Ausar, because Ausar probably will be playing with Ivy a lot and Duran a lot and Livers a lot. So maybe the Pistons give those guys a lot of touches. So maybe Ausar doesn't get a ton of usage. But nonetheless, Anthony Black went 6. Ausar Thompson went 5. Back-to-back picks. That's something that obviously we know as Pistons fans that the guy who went directly after you or guy who went a couple picks after you at the same position, that's the kind of thing that Pistons fans hold on to for years and years and years. And if you're not better than that guy, that's something that ends up on some memes. It ends up all over Twitter. It ends up on screenshots. Like, we know how this goes. So this is like the start of a long, long rivalry, I feel like. Not just with Anthony Black, but almost everyone that went after Ausar. But Anthony Black went right after Ausar. So if Anthony Black were to come out here and dominate Ausar, already, Orlando Magic fans, Pistons fans made the wrong pick there. They missed out, and I can already see the overreaction by some Pistons fans too, being like, see, we shouldn't have drafted Ausar. Anthony Black was better than him. We should have got Anthony Black if we were going for this. And then if Ausar dominates Anthony Black, it's going to be, Pistons made the right decision, and then Orlando Magic fans will probably be feeling like, damn, if Ausar could have just slipped one more spot. Like, that's what I feel like this is like the start of a budding rivalry somewhat with Anthony Black and Ausar Thompson. Not that they don't like each other, or that we don't like Anthony Black, or that Pistons fans don't like Orlando Magic team or the players or anything, but a fun little rivalry of guys who would pick back-to-back. I think it's a fun matchup to have right out the gate. The better matchup, there's only one better matchup I feel like that would have been better right out the gate, and that's obviously against his brother Amen. And sadly, we're not going to get to see that matchup. That sucks. But I think this is one of the next best matchups they could have had. So I'm really interested to see how it goes. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But let me know in the comment section down below, is there a different matchup you'll be watching for in this Orlando Magic game? Is there another matchup you're more intrigued by throughout the rest of the Pistons schedule? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. I appreciate all of my everyday listeners. Hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Enjoy this Summer League game. Have some fun. Until next time, peace out.